People laughed at the dirty old dog lying in the street, mocked and ignored by everyone, until a little baby saw him, walked forward, and locked eyes with the dirty old dog, and did something no adult had dared to do. What happened next left everyone speechless. It was a warm Saturday afternoon in the heart of the city square. The street was alive with color, families shopping, children laughing, vendors calling out their deals. Music played in the distance, and the scent of roasted nuts wafted through the air. But in the middle of all that life, one figure sat alone, forgotten day in. Old German Shepherd lay near a bench, barely noticed by the sea of people flowing past him. His fur was dirty and matted in patches, and his left paw limped slightly whenever he stood. His ribs showed through his coat, and one of his ears flopped down permanently, a sign of age or injury, or both. Some people glanced at him and quickly looked away. Others scoffed. One teenager tossed a wrapper in his direction and chuckled. "That dog's probably riddled with fleas," he muttered, walking off. Children tugged at their parents' hands, asking if they could pet the dog, only to be yanked away with a firm "No, stay away from that mutt." Despite it all, the dog didn't move. He lay there with quiet eyes, eyes that had seen better days, eyes that waited, hoped for something more. His tail didn't wag. His head didn't lift. But every time a pair of shoes passed by, his gaze followed, just for a second, before lowering again in disappointment. No one knew his name. No one knew his story. And worse, no one cared. Until, just then, something unexpected broke through the crowd. Amid the noisy crowd, a young mother walked hand in hand with her toddler son. He couldn't have been more than a year and a half old, barely steady on his feet, clutching a small water bottle in one hand, a pacifier clipped to his bright blue shirt. His curious eyes scanned everything around him, absorbing the world. Like a sponge. As they strolled past the bench, the child suddenly stopped. His hand slipped from his mother's fingers. Before she realized it, the boy had turned and toddled away, straight toward the old German Shepherd lying motionless on the pavement. Gasps erupted from a few people nearby. "Whose kid is that?" someone whispered. "Get him away from that dog." Another person barked, stepping forward, but the boy kept walking, one wobbly step at a time, completely unaware of the judgment in the air. His tiny sneakers made soft tapping sounds against the pavement as he approached the motionless dog. The German Shepherd lifted his head slowly, eyes meeting the baby's with a flicker of surprise. The crowd held its breath. The mother, now rushing forward, called out in panic, "Sweetheart, no." But the baby had already reached the dog and stood still, staring up with wonder. The German Shepherd didn't growl, didn't flinch. He simply stared back at the baby, curious, confused, and still. His ears lifted slightly, alert but calm. The little boy, barely waist-high to the dog, reached out his chubby hand, holding out his water bottle like an offering. The dog sniffed it gently. Then, with slow, careful movement, he gave the bottle a small lick. His tail gave the faintest twitch. It wasn't a wag exactly, more like a flicker of something long buried coming back to life. People nearby paused mid-step. Phones came out. Whispers spread. What was this baby doing? And why wasn't the dog reacting like everyone expected? The baby took another step forward, this time placing his hand softly on the dog's muzzle. The German Shepherd closed his eyes, just for a moment, as if soaking in the touch, as if it had been years since someone had shown him that kind of gentleness. The baby giggled. It was a small, pure sound, innocent and full of light. He plopped down beside the dog on the concrete and babbled joyfully, waving his tiny hands in the air. And the dog? He stayed perfectly still, eyes open now, but softer. Something beautiful had just begun. For a long moment, no one moved. The busy square that had been bustling with energy just minutes before now stood still, as if time had paused for this unexpected moment. A woman nearby lowered her phone and whispered, "Look at how gentle he is." A little girl tugged her dad's sleeve. "Why is the baby helping the dog, Daddy?" she asked softly. The toddler, still seated on the ground, offered a soggy cracker from his pocket. The dog sniffed it, and then, slowly, ate it from the baby's hand. His tail wagged, just once. It was enough to bring tears to more than one pair of watching eyes. The mother finally reached her son, but instead of snatching him away, she froze in place. Her hand hovered over the boy's shoulder, her expression a mixture of fear, wonder, and awe. She knelt beside him and looked at the dog. Really looked this time. A man in a work vest stepped forward and said, "That dog's been here for weeks. Just sits there like he's waiting for someone." But no one ever stopped until now. Slowly, one by one, people began to approach, offering food, water, and perhaps, for the first time in a long while, compassion. Just then, an elderly man stepped through the growing crowd, leaning heavily on a cane. His weathered eyes locked onto the dog, and something in his expression shifted. "That's not just any stray," he said quietly. "That's Max." A hush fell as people turned to listen. "I trained him," the man continued. Max was a canine officer, one of the best. He looked down at the German shepherd, who now sat upright, ears perked as if recognizing the voice. "He served with my nephew in the force, protected people, found missing kids, took down criminals. But after an injury ended his service, his handler, my nephew, passed away. Max was left with no one." Gasps rippled through the crowd. "No family took him in?" someone asked. The old man shook his head. "He ran off during the funeral. I thought he was gone for good." Max slowly stood up, limping slightly, and approached the old man. The two locked eyes, and for a brief moment, the soldier and the dog returned. His posture straightened, his tail lifted, his eyes shone. People were speechless. The baby had seen what no one else did. Not a stray, not a burden, but a forgotten hero still waiting for his next mission. The baby giggled again, tossing another cracker into Max's paws. Max gently nudged it with his nose, then looked up at the boy, his tail swishing slowly across the concrete. The child clapped his hands in delight, unaware that he had just cracked open the hearts of everyone watching. That a young woman knelt beside Max and began brushing dirt from his fur with her sleeve. Another man stepped forward with a bottle of water and poured it into a bowl someone had brought from a nearby food stall. "He shouldn't be alone anymore," someone said. "He deserves better." An idea spread like wildfire. Phones buzzed. Social media posts went up instantly. Retired K9 rescued by a baby's innocence. Someone suggested starting a fundraiser. Another offered to call a local vet for a checkup. Within minutes, volunteers were offering shelter, food, and transport. The once busy square was now a scene of kindness and unity, all ignited by one toddler's pure-hearted gesture. The elderly trainer stepped back, tears in his eyes. "I haven't seen people come together like this in years," he whispered. The baby, now curled up next to Max on the pavement, let out a happy sigh. And the German shepherd? For the first time in a long while, he looked at peace. Max was taken to a local veterinary clinic that same evening. Donations flowed in from strangers who had seen the video online. People from all over the country, moved by the bond between a baby and a forgotten hero. The vet confirmed that Max had arthritis and malnutrition, but said with care he could recover. Days later, a local news segment aired. Baby's act of kindness saves former K9. The clip of the toddler offering his water bottle to Max had gone viral. People called it a miracle. Others called it a wake-up call. A community event was held in the town square the following weekend. Families came. Children brought toys for Max. At the center of it all, Max stood tall, bathed, brushed, with a shiny new collar around his neck. His eyes were brighter, his tail wagging freely. Then the baby arrived. The moment Max saw him, his ears perked up, and he trotted over with surprising speed. The baby squealed and hugged the dog's neck, resting his head against the thick fur. Max leaned in and gently placed a paw in the baby's lap, as if to say, "Thank you." That day, a hero wasn't just remembered, he was reborn.